through this and go ahead and enjoy some of that. And today is the first day of early voting, just a reminder, okay? Okay, Washington County Commissioners Court is now in session Tuesday, February 20th, 2024, 9 a.m. Commissioner Bullock.
Good morning. Welcome, everybody. Today with us, we've got Reverend Johnny Williams from Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church to lead us in the invocation. Welcome, Reverend.
O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. Our Father, we do thank you for the privilege of coming together this morning in honor of your name. We thank you that things are well with us as they are. Could be better, could be worse. So we just want to ask that you would remember these wonderful people who are assembled here as we look to you for the sense of directions, guidance, and protection, not only here, but we pray for all of your world everywhere. We know that you're sovereign. We know that you're in control of everything. Nevertheless, we have to learn to put our little will in your big will and say, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Now we pray for all of the bereaved families, whatever condition or whatever situation they're in. We pray that you would show grace, mercy, love, and peace toward them. Then, Lord, in the time to come. This we ask in Jesus' name with thanksgiving. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge to our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Reverend. Item number 3, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of pending Washington County Expo rental regulations contracts. This morning we have 3 of those. There's a graduation party. We have Bluebell Fun Run using the parking lot. And we also have a dinosaur event, Jurassic Adventure Park. Okay, something different.
I move upon the approval of pending Washington County Expo rental regulation contracts and authorize the county judge to sign.
I'll second.
Motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, presentation of the Economic Development Quarterly Report. Ms. Rosales, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Honorable Judge and County Commissioners, please find enclosed my 4th quarter Economic Development Report. I'm also including each monthly production report for the months of October, November, and December. Overall, this report shows the culmination of work from the past. We had several high-profile openings, including Burlington and Ulta in Brenham Crossings and the opening of Chick-fil-A in Market Square. I highlight some year-end numbers, including county AKA numbers for 2023 and the improvement of website and social analytics. I'd like to highlight there is a new business in the Southwest Industrial Park called Temco Industrial. A little interesting story, they found Washington County organically, never once making a call to the chamber or my office. I reached out to them after seeing their sign painted with spray paint onto a large piece of plywood to introduce myself. They shared that they had some worries with the post office, so I connected them with the local postmaster. And thank you also, Judge. I believe that you've made some phone calls as well to the postmaster, and Representative Kaycal's office called me, and hopefully that situation will improve. But I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about my report.
Well, I noticed that there's been a meeting to revisit the ILA. Is that ongoing?
The ILA meeting is an ongoing meeting. We meet about every 6 to 7 weeks, and that's members of stakeholders from a variety of sources that were actually outlined in one of the ILA agreements, probably the original. And so we meet about 6 to 7 weeks. There's a couple of representatives from Commissioners Court that meet, and just kind of give a little bit of a deeper dive into updates.
So it's not specifically about redrafting the ILA per se, but if you'd like to provide an update to the court on the upcoming commission, if you will, that we're gonna create as it relates to the tax phase in qualifications and the
Certainly.
tables and such.
Sure, actually, that's the next item on here that I was going to talk about, but happy to share that. We did meet as a compliance committee and talked about the desire of some of the elected officials from Commissioners Court and from City Council to make changes to that. So I've been doing a little bit of work on the background to provide information to compare to other municipalities as well. And so that will be upcoming. Hopefully within the next week or so. I know that Commissioner Bullock has a desire to be a part of that work session. So she will probably be providing you with more details of some of the changes being made. I'll tell you, for myself, it's a little eye-opening only because, I come from another part of the country here, and just seeing the differences, it's quite vast. So looking forward to providing some of that information. I do get inquiries. The phone rings every week with different inquiries. I just am not at liberty to go into real great detail, only because a lot of it is still at a higher level with no final signatures made. But I will tell you that people are interested in Washington County.
Is there anything anybody else wants to share?
My office is always available, please, for any. And I do appreciate, because I do have people call. The judge said I should call you. Representative Hanneth said I should call you, and I appreciate that.
Well,
you
Ms.
very much.
Rosales, I think it would be important for me to just kind of state here that a lot of the conversations, and I've communicated this to you as well, but just so that everybody in the room as well as the media knows, a lot of the discussions that the court had during budget as it relates to economic development, how important it is to try to attract some of these businesses that are going to help attract more families, because as we know, everything is tied together, and we haven't seen a lot of growth in our school district, which has continued to create a larger burden on the existing constituency. So I just wanted to make a point to formally say that out loud. I wasn't sure if we had Commissioner Hanneth. I know you feel very strongly about it, which is why I wanted to bring it up and allow you the opportunity to kind of chime in if you would like anything to add.
Well, I think everyone knows my feeling about economic development. It is, we are charged with, I believe, creating a self-sustaining economy. And we need to attract businesses that provide salaries that allow for that, so that people can live and work in Washington County. For a long time, we've done that, and it's paid dividends for us. And I think we need to remain on that focus of creating self-sustaining jobs. I appreciate the efforts you've done, Ms. Rosales. You've done a really good job. And I look forward to the changes to the ILA and the changes to the format of how the formula for the salaries and things of that nature, because we do know that Commissioner Bullock and I have had this conversation. That's too low of a salary cap, and it needs to be improved. I will also say that I think that I feel confident that you'll be able to accomplish that. I think coming together with the city, the county, and the EDF, I think we'll make that happen. And so whatever you need from us, you need to contact either the judge or Commissioner Bullock. I know they're on the ILA committee for this ILA. So I look forward to that change and an update.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys are working on a strategic plan for economic development as well, or is that just
No,
what is
it's
the comprehensive plan that you're mentioning in here?
the comprehensive plan is the one that the city created several years ago. It's kind of nice to be able to have benchmarks and a place to go to make sure that we're on the right track. So when I came on board, I mean, I could see the evidence of growth in the area over the last probably 5 years. And so I felt strongly about the fact that we should probably stop and step back a little bit and say, okay, here we are 5 years into it. Is it what we want? We should be checking that all the time. I don't think that any plan should be written in concrete. I think it should be fluid because things change. And the fact that Temco Industrial decided to come here from San Jose, California, and again, it was organic, and not ever underestimating our assets. In this particular scenario, the asset that took them over the edge was our historical downtown, right? Crazy. They had lunch, and that's when they decided, we're coming. And they immediately decided. They wanted 25,000 square feet. They ended up with 125,000 square feet. Within a period of 2 to 3 weeks, they moved their families here. So it was just one of those perfect scenarios, a perfect storm. Again, it was organic. They didn't talk to anyone about it, only their broker. And so just looking at all of the tipping points that we have had over the last 5 years, I think it's good to step back. So the meetings that we're having with the ILA, they're not planned way in advance. We talk about what's kind of bubbling up to the surface and what's important, but perhaps at some point we can talk about maybe setting up some targets. I still want to work on an RFP for identifying our basically targeted industries. The state has them overall, but I think every community should probably be gravitating towards some industries that make sense for us. And so I am working on that. I kind of feel like over the past 2 to 3 months, there's been a culmination of a lot of things going on because of the impending retirement of the city manager. I felt like there's been a little bit of chaos in my head to kind of make sure that so much had to get done in a short period of time. And because of her announcement to stay a little bit longer, I feel like, oh my gosh, finally, yes, I can spend some time really working on some of the nuts and bolts. As you know, I've only been in this community for about 2 years, so really, really leaning on all of the historic legacy of what's happened leading up to this point. So someone like Carolyn Miller, yourselves, to be able to provide that for me, I believe in honoring everything that's been done from the moment I walked into this position. So anyway, hopefully that will evolve into something a little bit more strategic. But for now, I'm using the comprehensive plan as a bit of a target.
Thank you very much.
Certainly.
I'd enjoy the opportunity to sit down with you and share
Love
some
it.
thoughts.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Okay, item number 5 is presentation of memorandum with results of 2023 tax phase-in compliance. We already touched on that somewhat, but now you have a report just for that?
Certainly, yes.
Okay.
The Joint Compliance Committee for Tax Phase-In convened in January to review compliance on each company that has an active tax phase-in agreement. As a reminder, committee members were appointed for a 2-year term by City of Brenham Mayor Ken Jura and Washington County Judge Darren Berger. Each company was contacted and asked to provide documentation evidencing employment numbers and salary. Companies were also required to complete, sign, and notarize an affidavit that all information provided was true and correct. The documentation received was reviewed by the Compliance Committee and deemed acceptable. In addition, Chief Appraiser Diane White explained her process for verifying capital investment dollars using the property tax abatement application and any other information necessary, including the rendition form for personal property, copies of receipts, and ultimately an inspection of the property. We also discussed the desire from elected officials to have the committee review the policy to see if any edits, changes may be warranted for consideration. I will be back with that information at a later date. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. I will say that committee was very engaged. It was great. It was great to meet with them.
For that.
Yes.
Yeah, good memory. Okay, any questions or comments?
I'd just say I look forward to the results.
Okay. Well, thank you,
Thank
Mr. Rosales.
Yes, thank you.
Item number 6, presentation of the Information Technology Quarterly Report.
Judge,
Mr.
Commissioners, good morning.
Good morning.
This should be a relatively straightforward report. I went through and identified some opportunities for next quarterly report, specifically to make it a little bit more graphical in nature. And I think we've got some opportunities to do that, make it a little bit more easier for the eyes and what have you. So this will be the last report where you'll see like line item information that's hard to read. So please understand what we typically do at this report is we close out last year and we identify what we accomplished and then what the changes are for this upcoming year. So you'll see on the project list, we had 59 total projects. We had a completion rate of 44%. That's down from 49% in 2023. So what happens to the projects that we don't complete? Of course, they roll over to the next year. It's not uncommon. I will tell you, prior in 2022, we had 98 projects, then we got it to 58, and now we've got it to 28, or 59 rather. So we're starting to see some long-term projects that extend over the course of more than 1 year to actually get some traction and some completion on that. That said, we're starting the 2024 year with 28 projects, and since the last report, we've actually completed 7. We've added 1 new one, completed 7. That's what we hope to see, that we're completing a lot more than we're adding on. So the first project on that list is 160. This is the WatchGuard proof of concept. So the Motorola WatchGuard body-worn camera system and in-car camera system, we created a project to do the proof of concept to verify that it was going to fit within our organization. And because this project was working so well, I made the decision to go ahead and create another project for the production piece, but we went ahead and purchased the equipment with the ARPA dollars to go ahead and get all of that equipment. We're starting to roll that equipment in. So I'm closing out the proof of concept because we verified. We ended up having a challenge. I was a little disappointed, actually. We were told by Motorola that we could have a single server solution and it would actually suffice for being able to separate the video. And then as we got into the engineering aspect, and I should say the implementation aspect, the engineers said, no, that's not the right thing. I said, what's the right way to do it? They said, you want to go ahead and have multiple server environment. We went ahead and made that happen and was able to do it relatively quickly, although it did put the project behind by over 3 months and everything. Made the decision it was better to do it right, but it extended the project's life cycle. So this project is completed, and as I mentioned in the note, we've gone ahead and spun off what we'll call the second phase, first production phase, second phase as Project 201. The next project that was completed was Project 108, it's camera system. Most of you know that we have video surveillance at most of the facilities, and that video surveillance requires that we have infrastructure in place, and then the cameras connect to that local infrastructure. We have the ability to see all of the camera infrastructure throughout the facility, but what it allows us to do to have a local network video recorder allows us to it's a better way to manage it, and we keep all of the large bandwidth consumption devices, the cameras, consumed on that local area network. So it allows us to better manage it, get more data, and then still be able to see it holistically throughout the organization with a single application. Project 110, this project had a change in scope, and I made the decision to go ahead and make that change. Originally, we were going to put the infrastructure in place and get one door set up, and that was on the narcotics room because that was the highest priority access control door. Made the decision because the court supported us bringing on some additional contract work. We went ahead and said, let's go ahead and roll phase 1 and phase 2 together. And so I believe we have 6 doors at a location now, and so there's no phase 2 requirement. And you'll also notice it was supposed to take 40 hours, took 63, but that's because we basically combined 2 projects. Moving down to the OneDrive rollout, most of us know, with a couple of exceptions with some challenges, we actually have OneDrive across the board, and this was one of those. As we started rolling it out, it became a very time-consuming initiative. Fortunately, with the additional staff member, that staff member picked up this project and spent many hours at completing it, and it had been one of those projects that had extended over a year. So we've got that taken care of, and that, again, that was a 100-hour project, that ended up taking 121 hours. Network build-out, EMS2, this is just a wireless network build-out that's now completed. the Verkada camera system. So the Verkada camera system was our old video surveillance system. We had 55 cameras connected to it. We were at the point at end of life cycle for the support piece, and had we extended that, we would have doubled the content management support aspect of it. So the new system allows us to have no licensing. We pay for a particular camera, and we can use that camera until it fails, and the cost per camera is substantially less, and there are no support or maintenance fees associated with that. That was supposed to take 104 hours. It actually took 78 hours. And this is probably, of the group of 7 that are completed, this is the one that really showcases how much traction we're able to get now that we actually have that additional contract support. So I thank you very much for allowing us to do that. EMS 1 camera system, same thing, camera infrastructure, connecting the cameras there, and then removing the Verkada camera system. New and ongoing projects, I'm on page 4, call assurance. This project is one of those projects that, again, has been more challenging than originally expected, primarily because the equipment itself, the infrastructure, service equipment, we were not able to manage it the way we wanted to. Long story short, had to do some things behind the scenes. We've now got everything in place to allow us to do that, so that 911 can have the visibility they need, and that we still are able to make sure that the services are functioning correctly. It's unfortunately a software and hardware limitation of the system. So.
And this was a donation from
Yes, sir.
a constituent, correct?
Absolutely.
So that's good that that project's being.
Well, honestly, sir, it should have been completed over a year ago, and I ran into. I probably should have seen. And forecasted some of the challenges that we ran into, and I was surprised by some of those issues. Made the decision.
But you worked through them?
Yes, sir. And we came up with, I would say, an appropriate way to manage it, and it's kind of a compromise because it's not the perfect way. And the people that support it, specifically communications, they have to see certain things. We have to provide them certain information, and ultimately, the way that it's set up, we actually have to physically locate the server in one location and be able to present the information that the server's outputting as a video output for them in another location. So we had to get kind of creative with the solution, but we managed to do that. Project 181, WebEx calling. Most of us know we've been on the new WebEx system throughout the organization since last summer. However, I decided to roll in, change the project scope on this, and also include the Faith Mission aspect to it. We actually have one of the Faith Mission sites up already. I should say we've got 2, but one's actually got the phones on it. We actually had to do a wireless shot from the expo to the Higgins North branch, and that allowed us to go ahead and get the telephones there. That's completed. The largest office is the Health Service Center, and we've been working with the IT support consultant for Faith Mission they have to redesign their network in order to allow us to bring all that information, and we've been working with him to get that accomplished. We believe that's going to happen sometime in the next week to 2 weeks, and then we'll be able to very quickly start turning phones and computer access up. And they have it, they're just doing it in a different way. We'll migrate them, the majority of their infrastructure, to our network. And I want to qualify that. They're not going to necessarily live in our network, they're going to live on our network. So we're providing a pathway, but their network, pieces of their network will actually use our network for pass-through to the internet and such. Okay.
Well, and they provide a service to us every time there's something.
Yes, sir.
We call on them, they provide it.
Well, and this allows us.
Especially during times that we really need them.
Yes, sir.
Like COVID.
In the event of a serious situation and we have to turn up a phone bank or something, we could do it very quickly with the new setup.
We just did it with the last freeze.
Yeah.
They manned the warming centers.
Okay. Project 191, our previous access control system is called Edge Connector. We only have 4 doors left on that. We've got 2 doors at the sheriff's office on the new system, 4 doors on the old system, and we've been able to literally step out of the old and into the new. So we're very close to being completely away from that new system. So the courthouse and EDS components are on the new system. Sheriff's office is partially on the new system, and we believe that we'll go ahead and meet that deadline of 4/30/2024 to get this completed, 4 more doors. And then finally, as I mentioned, we went ahead and turned up a production phase 1 for the Motorola WatchGuard system. And this means, I believe we've got 11 in-car camera systems, and then we've got to finalize the body cameras for EMS as far as finalizing. It's still kind of in a beta state, finalizing, getting everything in production, but it's actually being used at this point. So again, we have 2 servers, one for the sheriff's office that takes the video for the sheriff's office equipment, and then one for EMS.
And this has also taken much longer, as y'all know, because there's been those 13 vehicles that we approved in 2022 that were supposed to be here in May of 2023 didn't start filtering in until December.
And we're,
So-
again, thank you very much, Commissioner, for saying that. We're stepping into that as
Right.
they upfit them, and then they give them back to us, and then we bring them into the system and everything. But we're doing it in a kind of a contracted way.
It's very difficult to install when you don't have the.
When you
vehicle.
don't have vehicles.
And the installers, some of the equipment was installed with the help of the sheriff's office and everything, and so kind of retrofitting. The newer equipment, it goes to the upfitter, they put the infrastructure in place, then we go ahead and connect it to the network. So, but we're doing it piece by piece.
They're doing it piecemealed as those vehicles roll in.
It's working, it's just, like you said, it's taken substantially longer than expected.
Well, and the point I was making that it doesn't have anything, you know, the delay doesn't have anything to do with the IT department. It has everything to do with the supply chain.
Page 13, please notice that we've seen a substantial increase in the number of incidents. This is due to the fact that it's twofold. We've connected all of our management systems, our telephone management system, our network management system. They automatically create tickets for us, and then we have to remediate those tickets. And so we've seen a substantial increase, but then we're at a point where we're only tracking about 70% of all of the work flow, and so now I think we're getting closer to the 90 percentile, and it's my expectation that we'll be in the high 90s by the end of the next quarter. Same thing with requests, though. That increase, that 18% increase, is due directly to the fact that we're tracking more. We're doing the work. We're now getting credit for it by making sure it's in the system. On page 14, we have submitted another customer satisfaction survey. It went out 2/15. It's going to close out next week. Right now, we've got a response rate about 20%. I'd like to get into at least the 35 to 40%. In a perfect world, it's over 50. But we'll send a couple more reminders and everything.
So I got an email for that. I get to
Okay.
respond to that as well.
Yes, sir. You are a customer.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll respond then.
Okay, all right. The questions are broken down into overall customer satisfaction, satisfaction with the timeliness, satisfaction with the courtesy, and first call resolution. First call resolution is put in a ticket, you solve my problem the first time, the ticket doesn't get closed, and then I have to reopen it because it reappears. I think we're gonna probably come out pretty good in increases in everything except for the timeliness. Timeliness is still an issue, and we use the responses and the feedback to develop a plan and a course of action how we can improve that. But timeliness is definitely a legitimate and fair concern that our customers have. It's one that I have as well, and we're taking steps. But you'll see in the next report the actual comments that we got, and we'll remediate each comment with a plan of action.
It
You're
does
gonna put
say
out
you had a
comments on the screen?
Oh, yes, sir, absolutely.
It does
Yep.
say, though, that you saw a 330% increase in incidents.
Yes, so, and
well.
again, the beautiful thing about it, the mean time to repair is less than 8 hours. Right now it's 0.5, and we saw a substantial increase in the number of incidents. And that is, that tracking mechanism right there is for the past month, and we've seen it step up. And
Well, you had mentioned that you were gonna update your next report with some graphics and stuff, and so as I
It's
was
gonna
kind
show
of
the
looking
trend.
through this, you're gonna show us the trending data, I
Yes, ma'am.
assume. Okay,
absolutely.
perfect.
We'll try to take the words and turn them into pictures, so.
Perfect.
Make it a little bit easier on the eye. On page 15, of course, those are the sites, everything's good. Once the Faith Mission sites come online, we'll actually add it to the list, but until their production, they won't be on this list. On page 16, this is the closeout fiscal year 2023 and also year-to-date on 2024. Please note that there's a substantial difference between the original budget for the 2023 year and the 2024 year. This is due to the public affairs director information in the IT budget, and it's also due to the fact that we're tracking 0104,000, 54257, which is our circuits. We're actually tracking those on this intentionally because we're managing that, and then 4,000, 53200, since we consolidated the small caps and everything. So it looks like a substantial increase, but it's not necessarily an IT budget increase. It's the fact that we're looking at those other the technology services.
Right,
Yeah.
correct.
Yep. So one good piece of information is the fact that we did make the 2023 budget. We came in 2.04% under budget for the year. On page 17, staffing levels were 100% staffed. Our IT tech is moving along substantially faster than anticipated. The one thing that we've done is we've actually, and we asked if he would be okay with it. He said yes, and so he's taken on new desktop deployments and operating support for desktop related issues. So he's extremely intelligent. He's extremely quick. He's very quiet and just gets things done, and he's doing a wonderful job. We're very fortunate about that. He's about 35% trained up, and that includes the new responsibilities that we've put on in his role. The system administrator and network administrator are about 70% trained up in their respective tasks. And then finally, the network outages. We had an outage on 1/8, and it was at the hangar. This was due to a Nextlink outage. We identified, got notification that the connection was down, contacted Nextlink. They verified the tower was down. They were able to reboot some equipment. It brought us back up, and so we had 32 minutes worth of downtime out at the hangar. And then finally, there was an outage at EMS2. It was an unplanned outage, and we caused it. We were actually updating some information in the EMS2 environment, and we were doing a configuration in support of the transfer station is the little device that the body cameras go onto, and we had to extend a network there, and there was a mistake made on our part, and it caused an outage of EMS2. It was 29 minutes on January 9th. Okay. That is my report.
So, are you tracking what people are using in terms of the Microsoft stuff? Like, are you tracking what's being, because there's so much stuff there. There's Teams, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that we can utilize to become more efficient.
Yes, sir.
I use some of that stuff, and I was just wondering if y'all track the usage of it, because that would be because the OneDrive is very useful.
Mm-hmm.
I find it very useful, and I was just wondering if others are using that within our organization.
So the short answer is yes, it's being tracked, and I want to say we're not intentionally tracking it. The system tracks it for us. We have access to those analytics. We can see what kind of usage, last usage, but it's OneDrive is user specific, but the SharePoint piece and the Teams piece is team specific or SharePoint site specific, and it shows what's being used, how much time it's being used, and when the sites that are being hit more frequently. So, and interestingly enough, Teams is fascinating because for the most part it's de facto. People could set up de facto teams. They set some team up for some use, and then it doesn't get used after a week or a month or a day. And then it just sort of, it's there, and so we're having to go through and clean some of that up because it's taking up space and causing additional support requirements.
Yeah. So this court is utilizing Teams.
Yes, sir.
For these agendas and things,
Yep.
and it's made our life easier. I don't know if it's made Carly and Beth's life easier, but it's made our life easier. So I really appreciate that effort. The other thing I will say is that I've enjoyed WebEx calling as well because I do have a cell phone, and all the calls come to my cell phone now.
Yes, sir.
So I really appreciate that. That's working really well.
Great.
Well, and the fact that the WebEx, if you miss a call, which often happens when you're running from meeting to meeting or on another call, it sends you a transcribed
I love the
email of the
transcript.
message, and
Oh,
I
yes.
really, really appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the transcript is definitely helpful.
Yeah, it's very
Kind of
helpful.
interesting sometimes.
It is. It is.
You gotta read between the lines.
If people have accents, it definitely makes interesting messages.
Yeah.
It
so.
does, it helps.
Well, sometimes it's not just the accent.
Sometimes
That you
they're just
get.
angry with you, Kirk.
And they don't
Thanks very
I'm
much.
teasing.
It's not. Well, sometimes
Okay.
it's just not an accent.
I'm teasing.
Just saying. I
Well,
know.
thank you for your report, sir.
Thank you,
Very
sir.
good.
Yep, thank
Good
you.
report. Did anyone else have any questions or comments about the IT
No.
report? Okay, item number 7. The Item number is discuss and possibly act upon awarding the request for qualification for the wildlife manager for Washington County School Land in Tom Green County. Commissioner Hannah?
We needed to get some stuff from the committee that we haven't received yet, so I'm gonna ask that we table this item. So I make a motion to table the request for qualifications for the wildlife manager for Washington County School Land in Tom Green County.
I second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, discuss and possibly act upon the appointment of Brian Rimke to represent Washington County, it says, as chairman of the Washington Volunteer Fire Department Association Board. That is supposed to read,
Yeah.
Iasca, you're the
Yeah, I need to amend that. That was my mistake. The way it should read is appoint Brian Rimke as the county trustee to the local board of the Texas Emergency Service Retirement System. So, and what that is, a local board, as part of the contract for the retirement pension plan, they create a local board who manages the participation and making sure all the paperwork is done and turned in to the state to make sure that they receive their funding. And so it's made up of 3 firefighters, 2 outside citizens, and then a representative from the entity, the county entity. And so Brian Rimke is the one we feel will be, that we will appoint to the local board.
Do you want to restate the motion then?
Do I have to say amend? I'd like to make a motion to amend item number 8 and appoint Brian Rimke as the county trustee to the local board of the Texas Emergency Services Retirement System.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Brian, you didn't object or anything?
Sir?
You didn't object or anything? Come on.
Other duties as assigned, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, welcome aboard. Okay, item number 9, discuss and
Thank you for
possibly
that,
act
Brian.
upon the participation contract between Washington County and Texas Emergency Services Retirement System on behalf of Washington County Firefighters Association. Commissioner Majewski?
Yeah, and this is just following up that this is the contract that now has the rosters on it for all the departments that are participating and active firefighters. And it also has the board listed at the very bottom. I think it's C, if you keep going, Carly. Lots of words.
That's
a lot of pages.
That's a lot of pages. A lot of pages.
It's page
There we
24, Carl.
Yeah.
There we go.
And that has the departments right there, and then it'll, if you scroll down, it'll have their active rosters. For all the departments, and if you go all the way to the bottom, it'll have the board listed. So with that, I make a motion to approve.
Commissioner, I'm sorry, am I allowed to interject?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Go right ahead.
Okay, on behalf of the Washington County Firefighters Association, is that the correct wording, or should it be the Washington County Volunteer Fire Departments?
Yes, because the interlocal agreement is between each individual department.
Each individual department.
I just wanna make sure that was the clear point of what we were doing here.
It's for each
Not to filter through an auxiliary,
Yeah.
non-binding organization.
Yeah.
Okay, we can amend that. Washington County Volunteer Fire Departments.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
I make a motion for the participation contract between Washington County and Texas Emergency Services Retirement System on behalf of Washington County Volunteer Fire Departments.
I second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for that input, Judge. Item number 10, discuss and possibly act upon state agency memorandum of understanding between Washington County and the Health and Human Services Commission for use of facility space. That's for the health center. It's basically a renewal. There are a couple of changes in here that I wanted to point out. Of course, the first one is a new regional director. They've changed that, of course, but that's not a minute. But they've extended for a period of 60 months, 5 years, instead of they had been going every 2 years for 36 months. And let's see, I said something else here too. And this has been vetted by the county attorney's office. That was, and they omitted, which is, they took out 3 items under owner's responsibilities. The owner responsibility provide exterior doors that have been keyed with keys for inscribed. We now have the electronic locking. Don't need the keys any longer. Also provide ample off-street parking has been removed. And a maintenance policy of all risk property insurance covering the premises, that's been removed as well. So they're not included in the new contract.
Make a motion to approve the state agency memorandum of understanding between Washington County and the Health and Human Services Commission for the use of facility space.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of proposed change to Exhibit A of the existing agreement between Washington County and Brandon Industrial Group for the annual spring cleanup event labor. Agreement change includes an increase for the 2024 annual rate to $9,000.
Good morning,
Mr. Stokes.
Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. How are y'all doing?
Morning.
So what we have is an extension for the contract with Brandon Industrial Group for the spring cleanup. It's a 3-day cleanup where county residents can bring in their trash up to 500 pounds per household to dispose of at the transfer station in the city of Brenham. What we have in the previous year, which would have been 2023 fiscal year, would have been a cost for labor and site facilities of $4,125. As we discussed in budget, we met with Brandon Industrial Group last year to talk about the increase to $9,000, which is a significant increase. One of the reasons why the proposed change actually came about was in 2022. In 2023, they were looking at about 285,000 pounds of waste during those 3 days. In 2023, that increased to 617,380 pounds, a 116% increase from the past years. I think a lot of that had to do maybe with COVID. People weren't going out in those past years, 2021, 2022. 2023, there was a large increase. We did enter negotiations into possible amendments to the pricing structure, but essentially what that boils down to is the county would take the risk if there is sizable increases for the future. What this rate would be based off of is approximately what we saw in 2023. Now, at the end of the day, one of the things we discussed was, do we want to gamble that this is going to go up considerably again? And at the end of the day, we felt that wasn't probably a good decision, that the 617,000 pounds is probably going to be pretty close to what we've seen, as whenever the city of Brenham operated this, we were around the 450,000 pound stage, and we have seen population increases and utilization. So with that in mind, this is a 118% increase, which is once again sizable, but it reflects the increased usage from the county.
But we did
days.
budget for it, correct?
This
We
is
have it in
included in the
budget.
budget. This is budgeted for this year. And one of the things that I would like to also discuss is that we are going to be monitoring the usage for this rate, and obviously whenever we're going to bring that to budget for 2025 to discuss what that looks like for the Brandon Industrial Group contract.
There's a lot more rooftops in the county, so that's going to just increase.
People definitely took advantage of it, which is a good thing, but there's obviously a little bit of a cost associated with that increase.
Well, we may be able to keep all of our options open for next year.
Right.
Correct.
Exactly.
They, is kind of what you were mentioning? Were they discussing looking at a price per?
That was that negotiation of price per ton, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously at that point, they're gonna have more manpower, they're also gonna have more trucks to be going to the Anderson disposal site. We looked into that option, it's very difficult to budget for something like that, especially whenever you're seeing a 100% increase from one year to the next.
Mm-hmm.
I just really don't wanna go back to court and say, hey, I know we budgeted 9,000. Turns out that we're actually looking at maybe 15,000, and then we have a $6,000 deficit, so, we said.
With that
Well,
kind of
we can look
increase,
at that.
yeah, with that kind of increase, I understand the increase in cost.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think there are other things, and look, I contacted Mark just to make sure we were correct and on the same page about the budget,
Mhm.
because, I remember us having the discussion in budget, but I didn't
Wanted to
know
make
that
sure
was,
the
I didn't
number-
remember the number, so,
Yeah.
I didn't remember it was,
Did the same.
once, once I saw the previous number, I was like, but I do remember us having the conversation once he refreshed my memory, so.
Well, I've had 3 calls since this was the media made these dates known. People making sure of those dates.
Yeah.
They're county residents, and they're making sure, so people,
March 14th through the 16th.
they're making
Yeah.
sure of it, and they're saving their stuff.
And I appreciate folks bringing this stuff in, because if it doesn't, it ends up in our right of way. And
Yeah.
so,
Right.
it's much better
small-
for us to make this, one-time,
that. We would pay a lot
allotment
more than that
for them to
if
do
somebody
so,
knows
so.
somebody dumped it.
Appreciate the efforts. Mark, I appreciate it. You've been
For 18,000.
championing this for a while, so.
Yes, sir.
All right. I
Okay.
make a motion to approve the proposal change to Exhibit A of the existing agreement between Washington County Brandon Industry Group for the annual spring cleanup event labor. Agreement change includes an increase for the 2024 annual rate to $9,000.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 12, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of accounts payable. Ms. Kramer?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Come on.
Today, we will be paying the $783,702.68 in bills. There's, again, a goodly amount of asphalt stuff that's coming in right now for the road and bridge for future stuff.
Mhm.
The
Metro.
what?
Metro.
That we paid our annual thing for the public defender program, that's 26,000. There's several softwares that went in, some for the helicopter, some for the first watch, which they came out of different funds, but they're still being paid. There was also, a water leak in the annex that we had to fix. It didn't come to the deductible amount, so it's from us, so. It was less than the 10,000, which is good, but then insurance won't cover it either, so,
No. Covered above that.
yeah.
That
Still
was in
good.
the annex
In the
over
front
here?
there,
Yeah.
yeah,
Adult probation, there was a.
Okay.
yeah, from the second floor. It was all the rain the other week.
Good Lord.
It all came in through we thought it was rain, but it wasn't. It was a leak in the pipe.
I just don't need it to be at the other annex.
No.
So that's it. I move upon the approval of accounts payable.
I'll second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 13.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.